Uh, let their food be the medicine they eat, and let the medicine they eat be their food. This was a very important quote by one of the great philosophers that described food as medicine and medicine as food. Today, we want to talk about food. We want to prove the fact that medicine is food and food is medicine. This is a narrative that for so long, medical doctors and different practitioners have tried to explain, helping us to understand the relevance of good nutrition or good diet in the healthcare professionals. Even with so many attempts, the public is not yet convinced that indeed medicine is food and food is medicine. This morning, we are lucky in our studios to have a professional, a specialist in that line, someone that we value so much in the country, someone that has learned a lot about food, and someone that has accepted to join us this morning in our studios to emphasize and to educate us about the importance of nutrition in maintaining a good health, and also the importance of food in maintaining a health society or community. My name is Mr. Selfcare, and I want to welcome you to our program, Mr. Selfcare Live, happening every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And in our studio is Mal Kanadia, all the way from LifeX, who will be joining us today for this important discussion. But wherever you're watching us from, if you're here for the very first time, I kindly ask you to subscribe. Yes, Malka, you're welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. It's a pleasure being invited here. Am I audible and clear?
Yep. Who is Malka and what do you do?
Interesting. My name is Nanteza Nadia Malka, and I am professionally a nutritionist and a lactation consultant. What that means is I get to interact with people in regards to food, the sick, the unsick, and the mothers, especially when it comes to lactation, and the babies, to just to improve their understanding of nutrition so they can design a better life for themselves. They can heal better, they can heal faster. That's basically what I do at LifeX Africa.
When you talk about lactation, what is lactation in simple terms?
Lactation, it is just a fancy word to mean breastfeeding. A young child or an infant, a baby, having to get their meal from the breast milk of their mother or even someone else's breast milk. Yes.
Thank you so much for joining at this moment. Let us go straight into the topic of discussion. I've hosted different professionals here, and at the end of every discussion, there is something to do with food. Whether it is surgery, whether it is doctors using medicine like tablets or injection, there is an aspect to do with nutrition. Let us start there. Malka, what's a deity, or actually, let us start by understanding it basically. What's a deity? How would you describe the term deity?
It is true, as you said in your early introduction, that let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, as Hippocrates said, one of the great scholars and philosophers. When it comes to food and diet, diet is just the way we eat, what you eat and how you eat it. That's diet. So normally when people say diet, there is an assumption that it is it is for a specific group of people. When people say diet, they mean probably they are living out certain foods, in their meals. They are living out certain nutrients, certain portion sizes, but basically just what you eat and how you eat it. those are your dietary habits. That is your diet.
Okay.
And it can either determine whether you're healthy or you're not healthy. We can have a bad diet and a poor and a good diet. Yeah.
Okay. In other words, it is one thing to eat, it is another thing to have a good diet.
Yes. It's
Okay.
very possible for you to eat and eat in a poor manner or poor feeding habits. And funny enough, these are things that start right from childhood, as we said,
Mm,
with breastfeeding. Even a baby can be poorly fed or can have a poor diet,
mm,
and that can mean probably the mother doesn't know what to do when it comes to when to feed the baby. Gets overwhelmed every time the baby cries.
mm,
Sometimes they do not have enough milk supply, and it can build a foundation of poor dieting throughout the child's life over time, if not well corrected with time. These are conversations that we get to have with our people. Someone not being sick doesn't mean that they do not have to check out what particular diet am I supposed to be following for my lifestyle, because at the end of the day, you're a unique being. Everyone is a unique being, and your body requires unique things. As you said, the different professionals, the doctors, the mental health specialists, the surgeons, they're all going to go back at a certain point. They're going to go back to getting nutrition of food involved somewhere, because it forms the foundation of us, of our being. We are completely made of food. That
wow.
is why
Wow.
it's it's when you look at medication.
Mm,
Medication is dosed, like
yes.
you're given a particular period of time for you to take a certain medicine.
Mm,
And the reason is it is a foreign body, it is a concentration of a certain component, probably nutrients or anything that helps in triggering the
mm,
healing particles of life.
mm,
But it is not something that is meant to last or be within habit.
mm,
This is because it is not the design of the body.
mm,
And yet food is something we take every day.
mm,
If someone is not taking food, we are pretty sure at a very soon point they're going to be dying. We
mm,
can't live without food. And the only thing the body can entertain is what it has been designed to entertain.
mm,
So this means that, for instance, when we look at our DNA is completely made of different proteins, different fatty acid chains, and this determines who we are, like who you are, even in terms of your character, in terms of how your body responds to the different environment, in terms of the kinds of sicknesses you can be exposed to genetically, you know, and this is designed or made by proteins. Proteins, the foods we eat, the animal or the plant proteins, which we shall get a little bit into later. So it shows you that without food, you're not there. We
okay.
don't have humanity without food. Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, Mark, you're trying to tell us that actually our body is made up of different building blocks, which are significant small portions of different types of foods.
Yeah.
So there is just a direct relationship between our bodies and food.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. So then, what are the types of different foods that we have? Or if you take us through this discussion of medicine as food. Can we try to relate our body and the different types of foods, or can you take us through the different types of food that we have, and then maybe you hope our viewers understand the relationship between the two? You talked about proteins, but maybe now is the time for you to take us through how our body is made up, and then you relate it with the different types of food. And feel free to use also Luganda, because also have Luganda viewers, people that are actually proper understand Luganda here.
Interesting. And with that, I'm actually going to have to say this. Tuli mmere.
Okay.
Emibiri gyaffe gikolebwa mmere. Okutuuka nti obuzaale bwaffe, like, you know, when they tell you to go for antenatal, when they tell a mother to go for antenatal, and they are trying to give, you know, supplements like folate and iron supplements, these are components of food that are meant to build the newborn. Omukyala bw'aba agenda okuzaala bamugamba nti alye ennyo doodo, alye ennyo emmere eva mu proteins, oba emmere ekuza omubiri, kuba ayina ekintu kyakuza mu mubiri gwe, ayina obulamu obupya bw'ali mu kutonda mu mubiri gwe. So yeetaaga emmere ey'enjawulo okusobola okuba nti n'atonda buno obulamu. And you know, you've asked about the different foods that, you know, we consume and how they play when it comes to our bodies. We have basically four or five categories. We have carbohydrates, we have proteins, we have minerals and vitamins. Then we also have other components that are not typically identified as nutrients, but they are very key elements of food, and they influence highly on our health when it comes to when the body absorbs them. And those are the phytochemicals and the water. In Luganda, we've not yet found, you know, exact words for some of these things, but basically what we could say is carbohydrates, foods that give the body energy. And normally these are the major foods that we eat, like what we call foods oba emmere ku mu Luganda yemmere ate ewa omubiri amaanyi, okugeza the sweet potatoes, the Irish potatoes, cassava, yams, the maize, the posho, the millet. Okay, millet is more of proteins, but it also has a high level of carbohydrates. And what else? Like most of the foods, oba emmere esinga obungi gye tuteeka ku ssowaani nti ffe gye tuyita emmere, yemmere ewa omubiri amaanyi. And when it comes to proteins, or what they normally call the grow foods, emmere ekuza omubiri, we have both plants and animal proteins. Plants, obviously, we have the beans, the lentils, but I'm puzzled by our inability to explore different foods, especially in Uganda and Africa. Like kyebakuzaalirako ky'omanyi yeyo emmere yo.
Yeah, because actually to just add, because when you move some abroad or to some other places, like here, if you talked about sources of protein, so many people now are going for sea or aquatic food. People are eating a lot of shrimps, people are eating crabs, people are eating, and these I think are high sources of actually white meat or clean white meat that has less cholesterol.
Yeah.
So I think actually I agree with you that in Uganda we've not yet explored ebintu ebisinga ebibeera mu nnyanja mu nsi endala biriibwa era abantu babirya. but mu Uganda ndoza
ebyo
tukyalina bingi.
tebitukolera byesittaza n'okwesittaza.
Abantu bali okuva ku makovu eno paka almost buli ekiva mu nnyanja, and actually be very expensive. They are highly expensive because you people have confirmed to them that they are good sources of actually high value proteins.
Yes.
Yes. So you can proceed, Maka.
Yes, ekintu, when it comes to exploring food, tetulinamu oba kitusindiikiriza bulungi kugamba nti katugezeeko kaneeno, kuba bajjajja baffe engeri gye baleetangamu okumanya nti nno kati eno emmere eriibwa. It was try and error, obviously, because there was no deep understanding of this is food. Remember, most of the food was from the wild, and they needed to domesticate the food. So it was try and error, trying to get to why is the goat chewing on these, greens, and could it be food for me as well? I think we've lost a touch of that, and now when we give people options, like in Uganda, when you talk about the grow foods or the proteins, you're relatively limited to the society's acceptance of what proteins are. Cowpeas, meats, the different meats, obviously, and here we're not even talking about the white meats from, the seafoods. Basically, it's fish, our tilapia, our Nile perch, and silverfish, the beef, the mutton, the pork, and the chicken. Like people do not even, very few even eat ducks or rabbits. And
Yes.
yet, those are really good, rich, high level proteins. The rabbits, that's white meat. That's not our business. The turkeys. How many times have you eaten a turkey yourself?
Actually, I've seen them. I've seen them being reared, but I even sometimes ask myself, "Bani abalia
Exactly.
sekoko," because it's not something I've ever met in a restaurant, like myself in a restaurant, or maybe the Americans when there is that festive
Christmas time, it's when they do the turkey.
Yeah, Thanksgiving where they do the turkey, but traditionally in Uganda, I've not visited somewhere never gone to the turkey. Normally, but sekoko. So, Marka, can you talk to us about the other you've talked to about carbohydrates, proteins? What are vitamins?
Yes. Just to proceed on the different foods we have. But before that, I wanted to point out that there are other protein sources. They're not very common, but they're relatively affordable, and they're really good. Why I'm saying all this is, when you have a variety of food, the food doesn't get so boring. So later, when we shall be discussing about the different feeding habits, you realize that especially in hospitals, people get bored. Like when we talk about, let's say, particular diets, like a DASH diet or a Mediterranean diet, which we shall get into later, someone gets bored completely, and they're like, "Mutwale bimere byammwe." I don't want this. People, let's say, have been stopped from eating salts because of high levels of hypertension, and now they're like, no, because we do not yet have the exposure to less salty foods, and we do not have the use of different spices to ensure that someone feels a taste of salt even when there is no as much salt. So it is important that we get to create a culture of trying out foods, trying out different cooking styles. And when we go back to proteins, we have lentils, we have chickpeas,
Yes.
we have there is it called Dalila? I think that's some sort of Indian name, but they are a bit far-fetched, yet they are within our communities. Here in Uganda, you can actually find them in Nakasero.
Okay.
Omuntu n'akyusakyusa ku mmere. And when it comes to vitamins and minerals, these are nutrients that they're grouped. The first two we've talked about, the carbohydrates, the proteins, they are grouped as macronutrients or nutrients that are needed in relatively high or larger amounts. Emmere yeetagisibwa relatively mu bungi okusinziira ku mubiri, cause okuba nti no ewa omubiri amaanyi, okuba nti neyambako omubiri okukula, yeetagisibwako mu bungi okusinga zino emmere endala zetusanga mu bibala, mu nva endiirwa. Tubyetaaga mu bungi naye ate tebyenkanankana na emmere eri gye twasoose okugamba ewa omubiri amaanyi, ekuza omubiri. And the reason is some of them are being created in the bodies, some of them are not. But still, ne bwe ziba nga ziri created in the body, nutrients zino zonna tuzitunuulira nga omubiri gwaffe guli in measurement mu buli kimu. Nti kiki omubiri kye gwetaaga at a particular point in time. How much of a particular nutrient do we need? Because less or in excess of any of the nutrients, we can find that we shall be falling into sickness in one way or the other. So embiri gyaffe tegyetaagisa bintu mu bungi nnyo oba mu butono nnyo. Nti n'eri emmere gye twasoose okugamba nti no tugyetaaga mu bungi, nayo tujja kutunulira mu maaso awo nga kiraga nti tetugyetaaga mu bungi busukkiridde, wabula tugyetaaga mu bungi obumala omubiri gwaffe nga ffe, oba like very personalized, your particular body, your particular age, your particular environment. Omukyala eyali azaddeko tasobola kulya kyekimu ng'omukyala atazaalangako. You get? Oba omukyala ali olubuto tasobola kulya kyekimu ng'omukyala atali lubuto. A man and a woman, they have different energy needs. They cannot feed the same quantities. So when we talk about emmere ewa abantu amaanyi, emmere ewa abantu eyambaka omuntu okukula n'obungi mwe tugyetaagira, it's not just okujjuza essowaani, wabula what does it actually mean for my environment, for my body to be able to produce this, to take in this. So bwe tuddako mu mmere eteetaagisibwa mu bungi nnyo naye ng'era still yeetaagisibwa mu mubiri, we look at the micronutrients needed in smaller amounts but very vital. Vitamins ez'enjawulo, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K, big group C, B12, B6, B9, zonna tuzeetaaga naye si mu bungi obusukkiridde. And then the minerals ne tutunula mu Luganda ndowooza batakitranslatinga nga eminnyo egy'enjawulo. Sodium, magnesium, zinc, copper, like calcium. At a certain degree, calcium. These are things that are needed in the body, but not in excess. However, because mu Uganda muneno tetuwa makulu gaabyo, twesanga nti nate n'obungi bwe twetaaga tetubutuukiriza. So you find that very few people even take the recommended amounts of these nutrients. Nti tugamba nti omuntu at least alye ebibatu 2 eby'emmere eby'enva endiirwa buli buli lwe bawa emmere like ebibatu bibiri 1 2 ebyenva endiirwa naye ekinene nga kinakolebwa ku lunch supper ne breakfast but how many people do that?
Twagala nnyo biri ebyokusikaasika
kasita ebifi bijja buli omu ayagala ebifi ebiwera to the point nti oluusi tweyitana bamama bifi oba bataata bifi ng'oli ye bamumanyi ku bifi tavaawo watavaawo.
Essimu zaffe zirina kontakiti z'ebifi nga 30 ku buli luguudo.
Okitegeera buli everywhere ewali garage there is a meat, you know, a program going on. They are roasting meat, either chicken or beef or, you know, the meat from the goat. But how many, even when they're serving these foods, batekako obugundi butono butono ne ku our biggest, you know, love, Rolex. Batekako obucabbage butono butono. No tomatoes butono butono. Rolex wouldn't be a bad food. Naye engeri gye tulyamu Rolex egireetera okuba nti nno abasawo b'ebyendya bagivumirira. So twesanga nti no tetulya kimala when it comes to the micronutrients. Ebibala ebivaamu vitamins kati unfortunately vitamins have not been translated in Luganda.
Those are vitamins, okay.
Ebyo tetwabitegeera but naye ng'ate we didn't name them as a country but we have them in our understanding of good, you know, feeding habits. Historically, you realize that children were left to, you know, run around the compound and the gardens were full of, you know, fruits. And like literally that is what they would eat throughout the day as they played, as they went gardening, as, you know, nga bote bw'aba talina nnyo byakukola ng'agenda ng'aggyayo a whole jackfruit and they're eating it like n'alya ffene eyo yenna omuntu omu nga bw'omanyi ffene bw'abeera omungi, you know, n'atuuka ne ku mmere nga tayagala.
Okay, so Malka, you have explained to us the different types of food, and indeed you've explained well the relationship between our bodies and food. Definitely, I'm receiving a lot of questions in my DM. I'll be bringing them towards the end. But let me read this one very fast from my friend Aruna from Boyogerere. He says, before we continue, which is more important? Is it the quantity of food or the quality of food? Before we go into the second topic. Yes.
That's interesting. It's actually a whole, should I say, a whole system. Into the kinds of food, the quantity of food, the different kinds within the kinds of food. And the timing of the food, the how, like nga bwe tugamba nti when you're eating vegetables and you want to enrich yourself with, let's say, iron, you know, or even if it's not just vegetables, let's say you're eating proteins to enrich yourself with iron, you're eating meats to enrich yourself with iron. We're going to tell you to eat a source of vitamin C because iron is highly absorbed in presence of vitamin C. So that explains the how, the nitty-gritties of the how. Nti omuntu ayagala okwongera ku musaayi gwe tagenda kunywa bunywi bintu bye bagamba nti no binene biwa omusaayi oba biri rich mu element eyambako omubiri okukola omusaayi, wabula agenda kulya ne ebintu ebiyambako omubiri okusobola okuba nti nno gukola omusaayi mu elements zino eno. So twagala tumanye mmere ki ey'enjawulo eriyo, bungi ki bwe twetaaga okusinziira ku mibiri gyaffe. Omwana ow'emyaka 14 teyeetaaga kigero kyekimu ng'omusajja ow'emyaka 3 because bakola ebintu bya njawulo.
Yes.
You get? And that means that singa any of the two feeds on less or excess, we're going to see what we are seeing currently in younger children, that is 14, 10, we are seeing high levels of obesity, diabetes, hypertension. Why? Abaana baneno fridge zonna zijjudde ebyokulya.
Exactly.
And they're eating, they're not exercising, they're not like amalirizi buli reyekyusa alya and they're on video game. You know? Alya and they're on screen. Alya and akoze ebyamakulu ennyo, they're reading. But they're not playing. You get? Namala fulumako ebweru. Gundi komawo mpozi Jaden komawo. You know?
Yes.
Jaden takkirizibwa kuzannya. So it's depending ku where we are. And kineno tukiraba nti no ne mu baana abato ddala abayonka. Why we are advising mothers to breastfeed their children or their babies is the breast milk provides a very unique quantity or measurements of how much this baby is going to take, depending on the baby's needs. Omwana buli lwayonka nga agamba omubiri gwa mama nti we need more breast milk, we need food. So that means omubiri gugenda kukola amabeere, ogenda kwongera okukola amabeere. Now, what are we saying? Bamama abagenze ne formula milks or ne other things in, you know, alternating from breast milk, tubalabanga they've ended up causing excess weight gain mu baana abato. The foods or whatever alternatives they are bringing, they do not understand proper portioning of those elements. They do not understand proper timing. So wesanga nti no mama are overwhelming omwana with nutrients. These are bodies that have not yet developed to be able to sustain certain amounts of nutrients. So the kidneys are going to get into overload. The liver is going to get into overload. The gut is not yet even steady to be able to break down the food, this different food that is not breast milk. It is only designed to be able to break down the breast milk. And now the mother is giving it something different. So omwana nomulabanga azimbulukuka. And the crazy part is Giacomo kuzimbuluka, and then the mother is happy. Now.
Chibubu chibubu.
Buli omu bw'akwatako ku ttama. Chibubu. You know?
Yes.
And yet they're making their children sick. And later, over time, we've seen in different researches that people with cardiovascular conditions, people with high blood pressure, people with diabetes, obesity, some of these have been traced back to poor feeding, poor breastfeeding habits. You know, already, because every time we eat, our original making is altered. Kurachi bagamba omuntu nti no, when you become obese, mu bimu ku bye tukubuuza nti ewammwe waliyo omuntu omunene bw'ati, ewammwe waliyo omuntu alina sukaali, even when it's type 2 diabetes, bagenda kubuuza ewammwe waliyo omuntu eyali afunyeko ku sukaali mu ba close relatives. Why? Because when you get diabetic, you are designing your body. Your body is going to redesign itself to have the diabetic gene, which is going to be translated to your newborn. And And if it is not well looked into, chances are high even your babies are going to become diabetic over time. Yet, this is not a disease that you grew up with. This is a disease you acquired over time. So that means byonna byonna bye tulya at the end of the day bidetermininga ffe baani in terms of health.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, actually, I think we shall have a session just on breastfeeding, because I personally believe that's where the country is going wrong, especially the modern mothers. We believe the more we spend on these children, the more maybe class or the class we are building to them. Yeah, you even find there is a muchale yampereza video nangamba omwana wange yakanywa million 3 in terms of formula era nga akutereke babipanze wati nga piramidi nga bigenda mu bbanga nagamba
It is so sad.
exactly nga ye musanyufu nnyo era ali kuntegeeza bwatyo. So I think we shall have actually a whole program on lactation, and again I want to thank you, Marka, for accepting to come. I personally believe that ebintu bye tusinga okwetaaga n'emibiri gyaffe are relatively free.
Exactly.
Ensimbi ennyingi in trying to appease the modern person, because the modern person believe the more I spend, the more important I become. We are in competition of who is showing off actually. We are
Yeah.
seeking, yes. Kakati kituuse ne mu byokulya. Nti when I go to KFC, olondidde bulungi
Ndi mugagga.
okusinga alidde mu molokoni. At the end of that day, it is starting to bite back.
Yes.
Waliwo ebintu bye twali tumanyi nti byali ndwadde z'abagagga. We are having more best children. I remember when I was in South Africa, that was 2019, and I was looking at the obese levels, and they were alarming. I've traveled to some Western countries now. The obese levels are alarming. And you see, the measures they are taking now to control, to prevent future generations,
Yeah.
the things they are banning in their countries are the things that we are accepting back home. For example, I know now about 7 countries that have put a total ban on fast food restaurants.
You can imagine. And yet, for every road that is being built, there is almost a KFC being opened. Or if it's not a KFC, a look-alike of a KFC. Let's take it. It's so sad, and kati olaba even in the Western countries, like they are doing this and they're being very, very strict because buli lw'osussa ekintu, you get overboard, then you see the repercussions.
Yes.
Tetuyina kubaako kye tusussa. Not even, you see, our bodies are 75% water. You're not allowed to overhydrate, because at the end of the day, the body is going to get in shock. Are we drowning? You get. So essaawa eno ebintu bye tuli mu ku exporting, bye tuli mu ku importing, we are saying nti banange, let's be adventurous with food. Unfortunately, we are actually, I wish I had said it like this, we are being adventurous with the wrong foods and then limiting ourselves with the right foods.
Yeah.
Abantu tebali mu kulya shrimps, tebali mu kulya like makovukovu biki, naye ate ddala agenda alye akakuka akasiike. Akasiike mu mbeera ya KFC bwesiika enkoko yayo, because it is a unique kind of cooking.
Yes.
And that's what we call exploring food.
Actually, Mark, it is sad that the good food we are exporting it. And we are importing the most dangerous foods to our generation. And no one is talking about this.
Tetunnamanya mugaso gwa mmere gye tulina.
Exactly.
We are having high rates of malnutrition in the country. You find that relatively we have about 21% levels of underweight.
In a country that is called the food basket of Africa.
Exactly. Like 21% is a huge percentage. Abantu bafa njala. naye nga bafa njala why ng'ate emmere weeri. Why would we be having World Health Organization come into, intervene or making sure that, people do not die of hunger in Uganda? Okay,
So
munsi eziri mu undergoing katugambe wars, kitegeerekeka. But in Uganda, tewali lutalo, waliwo emmere, and people are dying of under malnutrition.
So basically, I think this is a combination. Number one, it could be true that we may not have food, but also it could be true that people do not know how they are supposed to consume the food.
Exactly.
Because I come from Katente, Nkokonjeru Mukono. You find a young boy maybe at lunch in muogo, a full plate like 2 kilograms. So this is plenty of food, but maybe in the wrong quantities. So
Yes.
Martha, it takes us to, I'm really receiving a lot of questions. I wish they would put them on the page rather than in my DM, but nevertheless, I'll continue addressing them. So how do we then use food to prevent and manage diseases, especially non-communicable diseases?
Let's start with someone omulamu.
Yes.
Someone who does not have any clinical conditions identified or existing. Food, nga bwe twagambye, the science is on just understanding what kinds of foods, when, how, all that portions, timing, the kinds of foods. That's where the science is. For someone omulamu, I do not have any health conditions. I've identified I'm a lady. I've identified that I'm not so busy. Emirimu gyange sijja kulima.
No, you're born a lady, you don't identify.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
and emirimu gyange sijja kulima, nkozesa nnyo obwongo. That means kati nkimanyi nti I have to intentionally move out to exercise nsobole okubaninga some of the energy that I take in. So ngenda kutunuulira on my food, on my plate, what do I have? Do I have a carbohydrate? This is a typical health plate. Eina ebintu katugambe bitaano. There is recently what we call the 5-finger eating, principle. This ekigala ekisajja kye kinene, kye kiraga emmere gye twetaaga relatively mu bungi, and this is the carbohydrates. Then olugalo olusooka ye proteins, naye tumwetaaga mu bungi, and it is second to the carbohydrates, the proteins. And now proteins zino eno tuzaawulamu emirundi ebiri. Twawulamu plant proteins ne animal proteins. Nti ku mmere eyo at least kubeereko emmere eva mu nnimiro. Mu proteins okubeereko emmere eva mu nnimiro. Kubeereko ebijanjalo oba oluusi ebinyeebwa oba kawo, emmere ekuza omubiri naye ng'eva mu nnimiro. Then animal proteins, emmere eva mu nsolo. The beef terina buzibu singa omuntu aba takisusizza. Ennyama y'embuzi, and ennyama y'embuzi it's so good because tetera kuba n'amasavu mangi. Ate eri, rather tender than normally the beef. So ennyama y'embuzi, ennyama y'endiga, simanyi oba abantu bakyali endiga. Embaata.
Yes.
Rabbits. Those are like, at least tubeere nga tukyusakyusa ezo emmere zibeere ku sowaani zaffe. Then when it comes to this third finger, it's a representation of the vegetables. Oba kye twasomanga kye bayita raffages, simanyi oba alaba ku kasuku nga annyonnyola raffages. Naye raffages zino zeetaagisibwa relatively mu bungi, naye si bungi nnyo. Ndowooza oba olaba engalo zino eno we ziri.
Yes, nziraba bulungi.
Relatively bungi naye nga si mu excess. and mwe muli enva endiirwa zonna. Kati enva endiirwa oluusi people think that it is just the leafy vegetables. Nedda. Enva endiirwa mulimu the berries like eggplants, the bitter berries, like kumpi ebintu byonna byonna ebitali legumes oba ezitali oba nziyite ntya legumes kati mu Luganda, but olaba olulimi lwaffe luli limited.
Olulimi luzibu.
Luzibu kati actually kiddayo nti nno ne mu kunnyonnyola omuntu oyinza okuleka nga tategedde Allah waba takusaasidde kuba nti nno otegera how to support them, but these are things that vegetables or refuges, they are foods that we need on our healthy plate in relatively higher quantities. And then lastly, these are the fruits. The fruits tuzeetaaga nazo si mu bungi nnyo nti no mubiri guzeetaaga mu bungi nnyo nga bw'olaba emmere eneewa omubiri amaanyi, naye ng'ate it's a must nti no tulina ozirya. So buli lunaku at least, okay, if there is anything you pick out of this presentation, this conversation, let it be the 5. Let it be your finger principle of feeding. Nti olina emmere ewa omubiri amaanyi, the carbohydrates. Olina emmere ewa omubiri like ekuza omubiri ng'eva mu bimera ne mu plants ne mu animals. Olina emmere eyambako omubiri okuba nti, because when it comes to now the vegetables or the refuges, yemmere ya good bacteria in the body. And the good bacteria in our gut, it is what helps with proper digestion. Emmere esobola okukubibwa bulungi eyitemu nga tekuleetera constipation. Abantu tebagaya bulungi mmere tebalina vegetables zimala kuyambako okukuza the good bacteria in their body. So proper digestion doesn't occur. And we see constipation, we see diarrhea, we see bloating, we see a lot of digestive complications. Ulcers nezifukanga ulcers, and kuraki tetuyina bintu biri mu kusupportinga enkuba ya mmere. So that is why it is very important.
So generally sometimes the problem is not that people are not eating food.
Yes.
But sometimes that we eat food and we sometimes may need to add some other thing to help the body break down already eaten
exactly
food. Okay.
N'okuba nti nno kati omuntu alidde bw'ati yesanga nti nno they're not going to eat a lot of food. Normally, I know you've heard of the health plate design, which has half of the portioning to the side of the vegetables when it comes to the plate, quarter of the plate having carbohydrates, another quarter having proteins. Now, when you're eating with the 5 principle in mind, that's how your plate is going to look like. And that's how it should look like. What does it do? Emmere eno, for instance, the vegetables tuzeetaaga half a plate okweza ebibatu at least ebibiri. Vegetables zino eno singa n'endya bwe tulya emmere eno nayo it's a big thing. Bw'omala okufuna yo 5, when you're eating, you start with the vegetables. Enva endiirwa zonna ddala the leafy vegetables, doodo, sukuma wiki, biki byonna ebyo ddala ng'obifumbye nga totaddeemu butto mubi, osobola oteekamu ka olive oil 1 spoon. It's okay because olive oil is good oil, and sunflower oil, also coconut oil. You can use 1 spoon. N'oteekamu vegetables ezo. N'omamillako akannyo katono ddala oba oluusi n'obutamamillako kannyo. N'oteekamu probably akatungulu just to enhance flavor. Ne buli lw'otandika ne vegetables zikola nga akasengejja, a sieve. Why is it important that tutandika n'akasengejja kano? emmere eno ewa omubiri amaanyi.
So Musawo Maka, before you go, to our viewers, we've now moved from understanding food. We are now discussing how we can use food to prevent diseases. And specifically,
Yes.
our guest is taking, you now explained what should be the rightful order when we are eating food on our tables, right?
Exactly.
Let's proceed.
So, emmere eno ewa omubiri amaanyi.
Okay, again,
Sukali mungi.
yes.
Sorry, when people are diabetic, when people are told to eat foods that are less in sugars, the problem is so sorry, I think my network is being disturbed by a call. Ereetera omubiri okuba nti nno gufuna sukaali mungi in a short period of time. Omuntu bw'alya omuceere, omuntu bw'alya akawunga, bw'alya lumonde, lwakuba kale lumonde ye tareleasinga sukaali mungi olw'okuba nti alimu ebyo ebiwuziwuzi, those fiber, bye bimuyambako okuba nti no ye atambula n'akasengejja ke. You get. Naye these vegetables ziyambako nti sukaali bw'abanga abadde alina kuyingira mu mubiri at a rate of katugambe 10% ng'ava mu muceere, it's now going to be lowered to a 6 or a 5. What that means for the body is omubiri tegugetting shocked with high sugar spikes. Sukaali eyo kubanga ayingira mangu mubiri mbungi from the food. Kiba kitegeeza nti omuntu ono agenda kwewala endwadde eziva ku sukaali omungi. Insulin resistance, hyperglycemia, sukaali omungi mu musaayi agenda kuba amwewala. Now, when you eat the vegetables first, and then you eat the proteins, our proteins also ziri alongside the carbohydrates, because ate kati zo bazikuba zimaze kutuuka mu lubuto, the proteins, whereas carbohydrates batandika zikubira mu kamwa. That means digestion ya proteins eraawoko okusinga ku digestion ya carbohydrates. So okuzizzaako kiba kiyambako omubiri okuba nti n'obusobola zikuba alongside ne carbohydrates okujja. So we are having...
So gambye tusoose vegetable, then tuzeeko proteins, yes, then the third
proteins, the carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates, yes. Carbohydrates wanyonyoddeko eri nga twakatandika. Yes.
Eziwa omubiri amaanyi.
Yes.
Then after we can have, when it comes to fruits, there are fruits that are better before food and fruits that are better after food. When you look at yellow bananas are relatively better before food because ziyambeko okuteekateeka omubiri guno okuba nti no receiving emmere engeri gye zigonda. Era omuntu bw'abanga they're having complications, ulcers, they're having, discomfort in the stomach, tumugamba asooka alye eryenvu, oba omuntu abadde asiibye nga asooka alye eryenvu anyweko ne ku mazzi agali ku room temperature agabuguumirira, because yeeyo environment eri mu mubiri. So we are waking up the body to be able to feed. That means nti nno emmere enajja tegenda kushookinga mubiri, naye oli enjala eyinza okuba emuluma nnyo natandikira ku kikomando nekimusiba olubuto.
Yes, because nfuna nnyo so many of my colleagues calling me nga musawo nfuna constipation naye ndya buno nagamba nnyo amazzi bintu mbirya. So to me one thing I'm learning is that issues that tuyina mu byokulya ezisinga actually from your explanation ziyinza okuba nga teziva ku bantu butaba na kyakulya, but also kyetugezaako okutegeera leero is that our body needs a certain order. Ntera nnyo kigamba abantu nti emibiri gino giringa abantu we tuzimba ebizimbe. Nti girina amatoffaali ze gempita protein, zirina carbohydrates gwempita musenyu, mulimu amazzi and buno obuntu obulala bwe bateekamu simanyi buki obukwata amazzi obutayita mu bisenga and things like that. And just like abazimbi we bazimba ebizimbe binene certain order, n'omubiri gwaffe guyina certain order musawo gyatunyonyodda ey'okulya emmere. So at the end of the day, the issue is not how much you eat, but also the order in which you eat them. Because now I'm learning it. Bantu bangi ndoza gitwakola ffenna enva endiirwa yatuziyita nva ndiirwa. Osooka n'olya byonna byeyagala okulya, kati omala okukuta n'ogamba nzirye oba sizirya.
Ate ng'era baataddeko just buntuuto nanno baabufumbye ku Sunday nga leero nga taata waali. Naye okuva Monday paka Friday wabadde tewaliwo nvandi.
It also takes me back to how wise our grandparents were. Ffe gye twakulira ewaffe Katende it was a must nti emmere yonna yavaako enva ndiirwa. Now, that is a generation etaagendako ku ssomero. Ene yaffe yagenda ku ssomero n'egugolinga ate bino ffe tubivaako ffe bino tubiviiriddeko ddala tulaba nga bitumalira budde oba si bya mugaso.
I think actually sijja kunenya nnyo bantu nga bantu because ekituufu kiri nti even right now omuntu bw'awulira nutritionist oba lactation consultant abuuza kati gw'okola mulimu ki? Okutugamba ebyokulya like I've been eating for the entire life. Kiki kyotegeeza nti gwe omulimu gwo gwakungamba byakulya? Okitegeera okugamba nti no breast, even when it comes to breastfeeding, people think it is automatic that someone is going to breastfeed. Yet mothers are really struggling. You get kurachi tebaamuteekateeka ng'agenda okuzaala nti tukole bwe tuti ne bwe tuti osobola okuba nti no by the time w'ozaalira ng'olina amabeere omwana g'anaayonka.
Yes.
So it goes back to sorry, you were saying something.
No, you can finish that. It's okay.
Okay. It goes back to teaching environment yaffe. It does not compensate for food or nutrition generally. Kasita baamala okudesigninga nti naakawunga n'ebijanjaalo abaana ke beetaaga, it is a good combination, but it's not enough. Naye bo kasita baafunawo the basics, tugenda era kati tulya kawunga na bijanjaalo mu masomero, and no one is talking about okukyusaamu kamere. It is just of recent tutandise okukuba omulere ng'ab'ebyendya. Nti kati osanga essomero nga ligasseemu kamukene mu kijanjaalo, bagasseewo ko ku eggplants, bagenda kati bateekateekawo obuntu. And recently I've seen schools adapt the fruit days where they celebrate different fruits, you know, they give education sessions about different fruits, and these are things byetwandibadde nga twafuna edda. Ab'edda bakadde baffe olw'okuba nti nno nature y'obulamu gye yalimu beesanganga nti ebintu ebimu baabikozesa mu kumanya, ebirala baabikozesa mu butamanya. Okugeza abaana abasinga ebiseera ebisinga fruits ezo zaabeeranga nti no teziri nnyo ku programu nti mu kaseera kano tujja kulya fruits, nedda. Wabula olw'okuba babeeranga bagenze kuzannya, enjala n'emuluma, tali ready kudda waka kubanga wanadde waka bagenda muwa emirimu oba bajja mugaana okuddayo okuzannya, n'asigala ku ttale n'alya ffene.
Okay.
N'asigala ku ttale.
Okay, Mark, that is a very interesting conversation, but I am really happy nti we are going to be having this. There is a lot we need to know. Just like the radiology part where I come from, I think nutrition is some other thing that has been neglected. But friends, look, as we are getting old, as we the life expectancy in Uganda is increasing, there are things that we've got to adjust to, especially when it comes to feeding.
Exactly.
Where I am training right now, if a patient is admitted in a hospital, especially if they are going to be hospitalized or they are going to spend more than a night, every patient is attached a personal nutritionist, because then
Interesting.
those nutrition actually decide, because sometimes we
Yeah.
have option of drugs. For example, omuntu ayinza okuba bagendamu eddagala lya malaria nga bagenza omuwa kowatemu, bayinza omuwa simanya atimitha, bayinza omuwa ki. Wano wendi tewali musujja gwa nsi, naye Uganda obulwadde bwe twasinganga okujjanjaba. Now,
Mungi.
for each of those drugs, waliwo nutrition demands ezeetaagisa. For example, omuntu oba ogenda muwa kuwatemu alina omulirako ebintu ebiri fate. Now,
Yes.
that's where nutrition comes in. They will look through eddagala emuwandiikidde omulala ne bagamba no, okusinziirako ono omulwadde alina sukaali, kino na kino tekigenda kukola. Mufo kyomuwandiikira juice mumugambe alye emiyembe miramba. Era twesanze nga empona y'abantu, the rate of recovery, eri higher okusinga compared ku malwaliro ege Uganda gye twalimu.
Yes.
Mwena baba admittinga the same thing, naye empona yammwe neebera the same thing. N'abakyala bayise mu kulongoosebwa oba mu different surgeries ez'enjawulo, nti omusawo akola surgery ennungi, omulwadde n'agaana okuwona, not because wabaddewo obukyafu, not because surgery
naye
yabadde
wali
nkyafu,
eri ku ndya ng'omubiri guganye okurecoveringa
because
because the nutrients ze gwetaaga teziriiwo.
So it goes back to my call ngeno program wentera okukola nti eno program twagyetawo kuyiga bintu ebimu byotagenda funa mu malwaliro ago, nti healthcare is 360 wheel of life. Surgery esobola okuba ennungi n'etataganyizibwa obukyafu. Surgery esobola okuba ennungi omuntu n'atawonula okuba talidde byalina kulya mu recovery, because omubiri guyinza okuba bulijjo gwetaaga birungo birala, kati ng'olwa surgery eno n'ebyayiseemu ate ebirungo byetaagisa. Kitegeeza nti policy makers tulina okukkiriza nti nutrition is no longer A or B. It is a must.
It's not a by the way.
It is a must in the healthcare system. These people must be recruited at all levels. I'm happy that we are starting to put them at national referral, district hospitals. Newe tuba tulina okuddayo mu disease prevention. Kitegeeza nti ne ku village health team esookebwa kwero
community
tulina okubeerako kati ow'ebyendya, because this is where bad feeding starts from.
Exactly. And normally ebintu ebijja ku byendya, endwadde ezisibuka ku byendya zirwawo okulabika. Omuntu asobola okuba nga ali mu kukuza ekirwadde nga kigenda kulabika after 40 years oba after 30 years. Naye wekirabikira nga it's so hard, sukaali nga yatabuse, like omuntu okuba nti nno ayina diabetes type 2 inga it is at let's say grade 3. Omuntu oyo ayita mu buzibu bungi, alwala amabwa tegawona, buli kimu kirwala, buli kimu kifa. Sukaali bw'ayingira mu maaso nga gaziba, bw'atuuka ku skin nga gyonoona, bw'atuuka ku organs ez'enjawulo, completely destroying everything. Naye ng'abadde amubuildinga for over a period of 40 years.
So, Maka, as we conclude, this was just the introduction of nutrition, and for all those topics, we are going to have a separate discussion with the expert or experts on lactation, on diabetes 2, diet for such people, on children nutrition, abachala ab'embuto. We shall have a discussion on particular day, but today we just introduced the topic of nutrition as a medicine. So if you have a question, you can leave it in the comment section. Maka, what are some of the tips that omuntu ali atuwuliriza can use to make sure they have a balanced diet? Like if they're preparing a meal, what are some of the tips they can use to make sure that they have a balanced diet?
Okay, I'll leave us with two things.
Yes.
One thing is proper planning. Emmere eno oluusi tulemererwa okugirya because tetwetegese. Omuntu emmere gy'anaalya leero ku Sande yakazuukuka era agenda wajja kuyitawo essaawa ng'emu alyoka atandika okubuuza tunaalya ki leero. That means chances are high omuntu oyo agenda kulemererwa okusobola okufuna emmere eno ey'enjawulo.
Exactly.
Naye singa omuntu ono ajja nga katugambe wiiki yagitegese nti mu wiiki eno ngenda kulya bwenti ne bwenti. That's the importance of a meal plan. Okuyambako okwetegeka ogule ebintu mu budde. Okay, bw'obanga yes obadde a bit late kati ng'olwaleero Sunday. Nti kera ku makya tuula wansi muwandiike buuza ku bantu bo leero tunaalya ki? Or make sure that you have, as we said, now this is the second part, you have the 5 categories of food listed mu budget yo. So that when you get into the cooking process, you know lunch, supper is going to be made of health plates. Breakfast is going to be made of a health plate. Bisobola okwawukanamu nti breakfast we expect probably tugenda kunywa ku buugi, tulyeko kagaati, tulyeko ku ebibala, kachumbaali, tulyeko probably ne kadoodo, n'amazzi g'okunywa after 30 minutes or an hour. Tunywa amazzi throughout the day mpola mpola, and then lunch ejje nga tulina our 5 carbohydrate, plant protein, animal protein, vegetables, and then the fruits after or before. Ebintu bwe bityo. So if those are the only 2 things I'm going to leave us with to organizing what are we going to eat, and then ensure that you serve a health plate as you serve. That is for omuntu nga talina any health complications.
Yeah, I think you've actually highlighted something very important. There is a friend of mine, actually, who is my mentor, Mr. Busani. When we used to go to his place he was teaching us leadership and management. We always found a timetable in his kitchen, and he said, no, he always told us that he pays a nutritionist to make him quarterly timetables for him, meal plans. Kati fenga tukirabanga malala nga twega
kweraga
ono yeraga osasula otya nutritionist okukolera meal plan
okugamba ebyokulya leero Monday Tuesday.
Yes, kakati bw'okyogeddeko wano kiraga nti actually ebiraga class oluusi tubiyisaamu amaaso si mmotoka z'ovuga no, but how you eat, because guno omubiri gwe gugenda okusupportinga emyaka gyonna gy'oyagala okubeera.
For the entire life. If it's gone, it's gone.
Bw'otagulabirira ne gumenyeka n'emmotoka ez'ebbeeyi togenda kusobola kuzivuga. So number 1, I want to re-echo, let us do what we call meal planning. To men in money cave abemanya abala program let us go back and exercise our manhood again. Make sure you spare some budget to hire people like Malka to come and look at the nutritional needs. Olina abaana abato, olina omukyala ali olubuto, olina omwami oba kiki, agezeeko okubayamba nti ndowooza eno meal eri inclusive, buli omu nga family ejja kubayamba okuyitamu, and then we are going to have health bodies in health families. Lastly, Maka, how can we assess nutritional needs for our families? Like, how can we try to come up with that? Because I think it is one thing to have the money. It's also another thing to know what we need. Are there classes? Are there consultations? Are there things that we can do to understand what actually we need as a family?
To be honest, you'll need to involve a nutritionist.
Okay.
Buli muntu alina okuba nga amanyi BMI ye.
Yes.
Then after knowing the BMI, what we do as nutritionists is beyond just for you to get to know your BMI or your body mass index. Nti okusinziira ku bunene bwo, height yo esobola okuwanirira obunene bw'oliko. It's beyond that. Tutunuulira biki other factors. Finance is a very key factor when it comes to proper nutrition behavior. Muntu ojja mugamba okulya ebibala naye nga ye nnusu lukumi lw'ebibala ebyo. It's a really, really tough, decision to make on a daily basis. Then okutunula environment babeerawo batya ewaka, baliwo bameka, baliwo baani ab'enjawulo, balina omwana ow'emyezi 6, waliwo omukyala eyakamala okuzaala, waliwo omwami agenda okukola mu nnimiro, ne waba nga agenda mu office. All those people have different needs. So if we are going to design a family program, it is always better having a family nutrition consultation, which we do provide. It can be a virtual session or a physical session. Ntegere bulungi mbeera ki gye mulimu, buli muntu ssekinnoomu, so that we come up with a design buli muntu egenda omuyambako okuba nti they navigate their individual nutrition within family setting. I think we tuyinza okutandikira, but for starters, as we said, we use our 5 fingers, proper meal planning, and then please reach out to a nearby nutritionist. Let you have a nutritionist friend in your circles. Yes.
Toteekamu bapoliisi bokka.
Buli kaseera obeera weetegekera ab'obuyondo nti ne banajja why oba wenaakola omusango ku luguudo ninayo afande gundi, but then you forget omubiri gw'otambuza buli lunaku.
Actually, yes, actually, let me say hi to the traffic officer of Koima Road. I was always rushing to Mulago Hospital. Nainga wonkwatira. Mbira oningamba kati lero nkubirani. Thank you so much. So that's that. So Maka, what are your last remarks for a long-term sustainability of nutritional demands for communities? Like, how can we as communities start to engage in this conversation and start to actually put an enabling environment for long-term usage? Because personally, I work nagano simba ebimuli. And I always told people nsimba bibala for reasons. Ntwalo rengendo omwana bagenda okwetaaga amapeera nenga sina sente za era abantu banye wange. I have close to 17 different plants.
Well done.
Yes, nze nagana ebimuli bye bagamba ati no simba ekimuli ne bagana ogamba kiri poisonous nga busawo ino gamba bana temukikwatako temugenda. No, mapeera bikajjo. I have about 17 of them and I intentionally plant them. So what can we do as a community? Because I believe community starts with you, your neighbors.
Yes.
What can we do as people to make sure that we make a good nutrition or proper nutrition, I mean sustainable, because we cannot keep buying the fact that we may not have the money to buy all these things all the time. So what can we do as a community as we conclude?
To start with, buli family, even with abantu ababeera mizigo, at least kale wandibaddewo ka small garden kabeere nga kasobola okubeeramu ebintu bino. Dodo yeekuza yekka. If you put up environment, dodo yeekuza yekka. Busukuma wiiki, obunyaanya obuganda, obutungulu obw'ebikoola, because these are things people forget to make use of when they go to the market. Okujjako oli nga mufumbi nnyo, but buno obuntuntu bwe tusobola okwekuliza ewaka tubukuze, tuteekewo ka garden newe kabanga kali mu ebidomola, buli ebidomola we byonooneka gwe teekamu ettaka, teekamu ekintu. Fruits ez'enjawulo essaawa eno to buy ekitaffeeri kya nusu mutwalo. Yet it is very good, very, very good when it comes to diabetes control, when it comes to hypertension, when it comes to obesity, like ekintu ng'ekyo. So ewaka teekawo ebibala nga bw'okoze. I think I'll advise everyone to take up your strategy nti okay, ebimuli tetujja bigana completely because birabika bulungi and it helps the mental to.
Okay, I believe she will be back. Again.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Mbadde ngamba nti nina ekimuli kya yellow ne red. Simanyi naye bakiyita naye every time it blossoms kinsanyusa. So that is for the mental. naye at least buli ewali ekimuli kale teekawo neki
n'ekibala
n'omuti oba teekawo envendiirwa biriŋŋanya what is green pepper osobola omukoolako more than once okumuggyako green pepper more than once akati kamu osooka kaggyako green pepper more than once so olaba nti that is a more sustainable source of these things that are not easily bought kuba emmere yo ng'emmere yo tujja gigula kuba tulina okulya naye kati buli omuntu atunulamu bajeti ye awo ng'eza doodo zivaawo ez'ebibala nga zivaawo but then within 20-30 years time you can actually have a variety of fruits and vegetables within your garden. So these are conversations that probably we could get into. Probably then lastly, nutrition is a whole system. Like nze nga nutritionist, nze kasimala okulaba nti no, our country gets better nutrition programs. I'm supposed to be supported by the policymakers.
Yes.
Policymaker agambe nti nno tetuddangamu okulaba ebyokulya n'ebyokunywa ebirimu sukaali omungi ebiri highly processed mu kantini z'essomero. Eno ndi mu kkubo omulere muli ebibala muli envendiirwa biki naye omwana ewaka Jaden alidde envendiirwa agambye bikaawa. You get? And agamba bikaawa because they've been introduced to sugary foods very early on in life. So obviously taste buds zigenda kwawula mangu nti kino kiwooma kino kikaawa. Ekituufu ebimu bikaawa but we teach our bodies to eat them. So bwe tulemererwa bikola on time n'osanga omusajja omukulu nga talya nvandiirwa yazigoba ewaka omukyala akimanyi haji tabirya ebyo oba pasita tabirya ebyo alya engeri gy'afunamu akasente nkoko nyama bye birina okufumbibwa nga waali. So it is a whole system. Thank you so much for this program because whoever is watching, I normally tell people we remarries of having a sessions like this that I'm like my heart is full. My heart is full because omuntu omu awan nakanoni moli. Bw'anaamala okuwuliriza ebigambo bino eno Mukama n'amusaasira n'ateeka in practice even just one or two things like even if she just sticks to proper planning and eating the 5 she's going to have a tremendously healthier life than someone else out there atasobodde kukola ki kubitegeera. And we are going to see abaana be bennyini because jjukira ye yafumba ewaka oba kale yayambako omukyalo oba omukozi okufumba ewaka abaana be bagenda kulya emmere ennungi omusajja ne wanaaba alimu effujjofujjo era still agenda kulya emmere ennungi at least ebibya biriira eyo bweru you get and these are lives being saved. So I'm really happy and glad that we are having these conversations. Thank you so much. It is a whole system. They're supposed to work together. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we normally have a few questions at the end, and these have already come in time. Someone is asking, Musao, talk about in a minute. I talk about processed versus unprocessed carbohydrates. That so many nutritionists are talking about. What is processed versus unprocessed? What is good for us? In about a minute or two. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Whoever is has been with us, or whoever is still with us. We are so glad to. Yes. Again, I think I'd lost you. So the question is, can you in a minute talk about?
Sorry about that.
Net. Okay. Processed versus unprocessed carbohydrates, and what is good for us.
Okay, it's a whole topic on its own, but what I'll say is for every food that is moved from its original nature, just know we are losing something. Nti omuceere we banaguprocessing ennyo ne baguggyako akakuta ka brown ako konna and then you're eating white rice,
Mm.
you've reduced elements eziri mu kakuta aka brown. The vitamin Bs ezisobola okuyamba omubiri okuba nti no webuildinga, the fiber itself okuyambako. Kati ndowooza olaba sayansi wa Katonda yakwata akakuta akalina okukola fiber okaliire ku muceere, kabeere kajjire wamu, so that sukaali ava mu muceere ayingira mpola mpola mu mubiri, and then ffe twakutte ebyuma ne tukooza akakuta ako konna konna ne tugamba twagala muceere clean, you know. So the processed versus unprocessed when it comes to carbohydrates or grains, what I'll say is try to ensure that you eat the unprocessed or the, we're not going to say unprocessed completely, because if it's completely unprocessed, it's a bit really tough. Naye tujja gamba mildly processed. Byonna byonna tetubijjaako bisuula. Akakuta akasigaddeko akatono grade 2 akawunga, way better, because akyalimu the nutritional values ezijja n'akakuta ako. Akakuta kali so rich in vitamin Bs, rich in fiber, and we need that. So let's have the mildly processed grains, or where possible, the completely unprocessed. And then reduce the processed the processed grains, because they expose us to high sugar spikes. Byebimu ku bintu ebikyasinze okuba nti okuleeta sukaali, rates za diabetes esaino mu Kampala ne mu Uganda generally okuba nti no zeeyongera.
Abantu bongedde okulya okufuna ssente n'okulya omuceere.
Okulya clean.
Gye nakuliranga omuceere gw'abagagga bokka. So this is coming from my uncle somewhere in Entebbe. Is asking, Gambo omusawo ayogere ku nutrition and aging. I know this will be a topic of its own, but in a minute, what can you say about nutrition and aging?
Buli gye tukoma okukula omubiri gwerya oba gufa. That means nti okusobola okureversingamuko katono ku rate gye gufiiramu, tulina okuguwa nutrients ezigubuildinga. So kya buvunaanyizibwa nnyo okuba nti no, as we age, we improve on the nutrients. Nutrients ezimu, they completely deplete as we age. When you look at calcium, especially in women, ddala nga azaddeko, akendeerera ddala kulwaki awaddeko omuntu omulala ate nga naye kennyini amwetaaga okusobola keepinga the bonds, strong. So as we age, tuyinza actually n'okwetaaga to supplement on our nutrients, because omubiri, because guli mu kufa, gutandika okwerabira how to absorb nutrients from the foods that we eat. Ne kiba nti no kikaluba omubiri okujja vitamin mu vegetable emu. Nti sometimes the food, people eat food, but the body fails to absorb the nutrients that the food has or that the food provides. So what we do is to support the body to be able to absorb the nutrients. Kola exercises okipinga omubiri nga mulamu, like cells z'amaaso zo zibeere nga ziri alert to absorption of these nutrients. Kola nywa bulungi amazzi, oyambeko omubiri okuba nti no processing y'emmere eri smooth, utilization of the food eri easy. Then with nutrients, to a certain point, you're going to need to supplement. But even this supplementation, people, but tusiza nnyo ekyokusupplementing, buli omu ayina supplement gy'ali mu kutwala in one way or the other. The point is not for you just to supplement, but understand you need a nutritionist to help you more gauging which supplements are depleting that you need at a particular point in time. What are the doses, and when do you need what and where? So from eating the 5, as we said earlier, to getting into the conversation of supplementing, especially when it comes to minerals and vitamins. because depleting mangu mu mubiri ate nga we may not have the capacity to absorb them from food as we age. So tulina okusupporting embiri gino eno okulaba nti no we get high quality supplements okuba nti no we keep afloat naye n'okukola exercises buli omubiri w'oguleka nga togutambuza gufa.
Wow.
There is just a moment, there is that theory etali very right but it somehow makes a bit of sense egamba nti the theory of use and misuse. Whatever you use it expands, it grows. Whatever you do not use it shrinks, or it dies. Now that theory is complicated, but
yep. The men are smiling and I know why they are smiling.
So omubiri guno eno buli lwe tutagukozesa gufa kuba like it loses the sense of function. Amannyo gano eno we tutagakozesa kulya, people used to kulya sugar canes, but now they do not, and we're having weak teeth. Omwana ng'aluma eggumba tewakyali aluma gumba nti biswaza. Now we are having weak teeth because we are not utilizing the teeth. Tetuli mu ggaaya mmere, and we are seeing the repercussions later with constipation. So let's make use of our bodies, let's move, let's exercise, tusobole okuyamba omubiri okuba nti absorbing the nutrients.
This is coming all the way from Lugazi, and the person is Claire. She's saying, Doctor, talk about, let Musao talk about sugars and sodas in children. Yes, Marka. Hello. Okay. Can you hear me, Marka? Okay, I'm struggling to get.
That's a very big topic.
That is another topic to discuss soon. Yes.
But
yes.
What I'll say is, hello.
Yes, I've lost your camera.
Is the network still on?
I've lost your camera. It's okay.
I can hear you now.
Okay, but I've lost your camera.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, we are going to have Mark back to finish up this. We have really had a very interactive conversation today. And whoever I think has watched up to this time, I think your time has been well spent. Musa has really explained the importance and the need for proper nutrition. It normally beats my understanding. Chi olusi kyenumya omutwe okulaba nga tuyina sente ezigulira abaana ebintu n'ebitabagasa, n'ogulira omwana swiiti, n'ogulira omwana ebintu ebyenjawulo, buli mwana wakola ekintu ekirungi n'omugulira swiiti, n'omuwa cakes, n'omuwa ki. Naye nga bino ebintu ebiri okutta abaana baffe. Yes, Maka.
Oh my, so sorry.
It's okay.
I think the network got disturbed. The question was about sugars mubana.
Sugars, sweets, and cakes to children.
Kati nze kyengenda okugamba mama oba tata. Actually, tata has a lot of influence because normally when daddy says that kineno sagala abaana bange bakirye, there is a way women listen more than when we say bananga abaana temu. If eno wetujja ne tugamba bananga abaana temubawa bintu bya sukali bingi. For some reason, it is taken as a joke. But here is the thing. Let us introduce the sugars, the ice creams, the cakes, the what, way much later in life. Bw'oba osobola omwana ebyo wandibitandise bimulaga eyo ku myaka 4, myaka 5, myaka 7 nga like mu butono bwabyo. Ebimu, you completely do not even have to show your children that they exist. Because what you are doing is, omwana ono engeri gy'abeera omuto, the first things you introduce to them are going to design how they think about food. Omwana bw'aba nga yakazaalibwa, why we emphasize the initiation of breastfeeding within the first 1 hour. Bw'olwawo, there is a possibility of omwana oyo gaana amabeere. You get? Omuzadde n'atuuka n'agamba ono ye yagaana naye ng'omwana yalwawo, baali bakamuzaala, they took 6 hours, omwana tebamuwadde mabeere, but because omwana ono alina okulya ne babaako bye bamuwa ebitategeerekeka, and then completely ye n'agaana amabeere ng'alaba tebikyakwatagana. It doesn't taste the same. What you are doing feeding your child is you are telling the brain what it should expect for in terms of taste. So the earlier you introduce ebintu ebirabika ng'ebikaawa, you've seen children on YouTube here nga they are fans of broccoli, nga they're fans of carrots, because the parents have introduced that at a very young age. Bamulaga nti eating broccoli is a fancy thing. I have a colleague, like dodo ewaabwe. It's a fancy thing to the point that abaana bagenda ne bakinyumyako in school, and they're in an international school where those conversations are not like that. So the conversations are ewaffe mama afa tufumbira dodo. Our mothers prepares dodo for us. They don't even call it amaranthus or whatever. And it's a cool thing. How she knew that it became cool was when the friends to these children told her, we also want to try out dodo, and she was like, so these kids have been telling their friends we prepare dodo at home. So whatever you do, it is you the mother, you're determining a lot. You the parents, you're determining a lot on what this brain is thinking is good or bad. Introduce the vegetables early in life. Mash the vegetables. Prepare them in a way and present them in a cool way so that the child doesn't think it is not good. Abaana bali eddagala nga likaawa naye nga you find a child chewing on sour medicine because it's cool to them. So whatever you do, you're supporting the child. Sugars, what you do when you introduce sugars at a very early age, it is to build up a system that is going to breed diseases like diabetes, hypertension, that is with salts. I see lots of snacks have a lot of salt in them. Busagala mentioning brands nayenga, most of the snacks that are currently in the shelves of supermarkets, they have a lot of salt in them, which is not necessary. Atenga babiwa abaana bibateeka mu containers z'abaana.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so,
I know so many questions are now coming in, but we've got to cut it short. But lastly, okay, yeah, someone is asking about supplements. We shall make a program on supplements on its own. Someone is saying, actually, so you're telling us that oil. Actually, this is actually some question I had that I think in a minute or two you respond to. When I left Uganda, I knew cooking oil was bad. When I came to the US, my nutritionist and doctor advised me to sprinkle some olive oil on my food, and they said it was easing my digestion. I almost told them they wanted to kill me. I think in our conversation, what's your take on oils? Because all we grew up knowing fat, amasavu mabi. Now I come and my doctor says it is okay to sprinkle some olive oil because she said it doesn't have cholesterol. It is what's your take on that? Maybe that's something that you need to help our viewers as we close up this program.
Oils simbi zonna. Omubiri gwaffe producing a cholesterol. And that is why we are told to reduce or to limit the oils that we take in so that we do not build an excess of cholesterol in the body, because already the body naturally produces the cholesterol. So whatever we do, as we said, when it comes to nutrition, twagala moderate. We don't want less, we don't want excess. So omuntu cutting out oils completely, it is also not good. Oils are among the energy giving foods. Omubiri buli lwe gubeera nga gumaze okujja energy mu carbohydrates. When it needs energy and the carbohydrates are not present, it's going to pick on the fats and oils in the body. They are very good when it comes to energy conservation. Naye tetubyetaaga mbungi. Anything in excess, chibi. These oils are also good in designing hormones, enzymes, so we need them in the body, but we don't need them in excess. Kyova nti era nagambye nti ka vegetable kaffe kali eri okukayambako okubeera nti katestinga good. Sprinkle some oil. When you look at the salads, most of the times, bateekako ka olive oil, on the salads. So it is okay in smaller amounts, but there is also what we call bad, fat. For instance, kati bw'otunula ebintu nga margarine, oyo oils abeera akalubiziddwa, and it becomes a fat. Not good. At least the good fat would be ghee, omuzigo, that is healthy, teguyina bad, cholesterol. But bineno ebintu ebiri it now goes back to it's highly processed to form the margarine, which becomes toxic to our body. So bineno ebiri natural, we can always take, but still in smaller quantities, because the body already produces what it needs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Maka. Now crown everything with water. And I trust me that the last talk about water in a minute or two, and then we call it a day.
So I'll say there are two things that we didn't talk about: the phytochemicals or the non-nutrient parts of food that are very important. Essaawa eno ebintu bye bali mu kugamba nti kino kiyambako cancer okuba nti no talumba muntu. A lot of those elements of food come from the non-nutrient elements of food. Ze tuyita polyphenols or phytochemicals. Zisangibwa mu mmere ey'enjawulo okusingira ddala fruits, vegetables, nuts, legumes. Nuts is neno zi almonds, zi walnuts, bunuts obw'enjawulo, ensigo ez'enjawulo. Zina phytochemicals nyingi. So you eat a lot of those when you're snacking, especially evening snack, breakfast snack, so you can support the body to, fight diseases. They are normally very rich in anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, antioxidant, all those, they support in toxin removal pathways. People are detoxifying. They normally detoxify with funny regimens, but what I can say is just eat your fruits and vegetables. They're going to provide elements that you do not even know, because pakakati mulimu ebintu by'emmere bye tutamanyi science byatannaba kuzuula naye ng'ate biyamba omubiri gwaffe nga bwe tutannaba kutegeera mubiri gyaffe fully. Then when it comes to water, banaye tunywa amazzi. Kankugambe kano kaama,
Tunywa amazzi.
Nywa amazzi ameerere, nywa amazzi agalimu spices, but drink water. If your body is made up of 75% water, that should tell you how much the body needs the water. By the time woowulira nti ennyonta ekuluma, just know the body already needed the water. Naye you're not providing that water. So normally what it does is to tell you that you're hungry, but indeed you're not hungry, you just need water. So kati yo ekulaga nti kale oba bwe namulumya ku njala ajja kubaako kya, because sometimes when you eat, you could eat kati nga amatooke, it has a lot of water in it, so the body can extract a bit of that, but that's not enough. When you drink porridge, the body can extract the water in the porridge or the water in the juice, but that's not enough. You need to have moments where you drink plain water without sugar, or to make it even better, water that has some salts, some minerals to help in absorption. When you look at pink salt is very good. But just a pinch. When we say a pinch, just noyiwamu koko mu mazzi. When you take that water, it is easy for the body to absorb most of that water. Galeme kuyitamu buyisi kugenda okubeera nga ogafuka, you know. So let's take our water. The different foods are going to give you water, a certain amount of water, but you also need to be able to take plain water. If water is so hard for you, we are running a drink more water challenge. It was a bit paused, but we are rejuvenating it. But the point of the challenge was to motivate ourselves, myself inclusive. Amazi si mangu ga kunywa gerabirwa mangu, yet the body highly needs it. So have your bottles with you, like Ben and Ebu reminders. You can join in on our challenge, and we drink water as a group. Let's do it as a group. Nenywa amazi gatamu ka clove, gatamu ka hibiscus, gatamu ka salt akatono. To ensure that you at least have water, but do not add sugar.
Yes.
Do not add sugar.
Wow. To all our viewers, I really want to thank you for taking your time to watch this very interactive but yet important show. I believe your time has been well spent. Mr. Omaka, thank you so much. I am Team Nutrition. I am pro food. I believe that amidst all the medicine we know, this was the missing link, actually. Number one, in prevention of diseases, because my little reading around food is telling me that almost 75% of diseases that are killing innocent Ugandans have something to do with poor nutrition. It is quite absurd that today we still have departments like Mwana Mujimu trying to help out children simply because we are not concerned. We are a generation that is selfish. We are not providing well for pregnant mothers because their bodies need to be supported. So we are not supporting the pregnant mothers, and so they give birth to underweight babies that end up to Mwana Mujimu Clinic. And in a special way, I want to thank actually that department of Mwana Mujimu. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job. Government of Uganda, Mulago Hospital, for supporting that department. How I wish we had a Mwana Mujimu Clinic in all the hospitals in the country, because some children cannot afford to live all the way from Tororo to come to Mulago. So some of them stop in between, and either that leads to death or to raising malnourished babies. So my plea and request to policymakers in the government is that let us have a Mwana Mujimu extension to almost all the government hospitals first. Maybe later it will also be done for private settings. I'll tell a story. When I was in South Africa, by the time I was leaving, government had passed a policy in all schools. They were not allowing any school to have any more sugary stuff at their canteens, from chocolates to sodas to anything that had sugars. And the reason here was to curb on the obesity levels in children that was fast rising. I think we are not supposed to wait for these levels to be observable everywhere in Uganda. Let us start these policies first.
Mr.Selfcare.
Yes, please.
Just a moment. When they asked about sugars and children, one thing that someone should take in mind is when the sugars become excess in the body has to put them somewhere. So normally they are turned into fat and extended into different fat deposits. So what that means is we are increasing chances of someone becoming overweight and obese just by taking a lot of sugary things.
Okay. So it's my plea. I'll end by saying policymakers, The medical schools have trained the professionals, the Markers, the Christophers. There's so many people. They need right operational space. Employ, force government or ask government to employ these people at all levels, starting at village health teams, the VHT. There should be a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And then employ them at different levels up to ministry level to help our populations. I believe in prevention because as a country that is still growing in so many aspects, we don't have the capacity to treat diseases. The cheapest and the easiest way is for us
It's
to
to
teach
prevent.
people to prevent diseases.
Yeah.
With proper nutrition, we are going to prevent nutrition diseases, we are going to prevent diarrhea diseases, we are going to prevent a lot of diseases. But also because our bodies are going to be made stronger. Even these other diseases that naturally come to our body, they are going to find a supported or well-built body. And then the effects they are going to have on us are not going to be so dangerous.
Yeah.
Evidence way back in COVID, when COVID came, people whose bodies were strong managed to fight off the diseases. Those whose bodies were weak ended up most of families losing family members. So let's not wait for other pandemics to come before we start talking about the things we are supposed to be talking about today. Again, to everyone watching, the food you eat can either kill you or make you stronger. It is not about the amount sometimes, but the particulars on your plate. Where you don't know, consult a nutritionist. But men, it remains our responsibility to make sure that we raise under our roofs health children, health women, and all the other part. Men who have to join this fight because we got to play a role. Yes, Malka, send greetings to the people that matter in your life, and we shall call the show to the
Thank
end.
you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I put my shout out to my mother because she has learned over time. With my education, she has now learned how to prepare the healthy meals, and it gives me great pleasure to know that this is a journey that I'm building right from home to the communities and the LifeX team, the LifeX Care community, Man Cave, Uganda. That's a community that I'm really proud to associate with, and for everyone out there, Mr. Selfcare and people like you, the government, everyone who is trying to contribute to health,
Yeah.
because health is wealth. Without proper health, we have nothing. It is so expensive for you to cure diseases. It is so time and like it is expensive in terms of money, but also in terms of the productivity of the country. So if we want to develop the next Elon Musk's, those people have to be really healthy for them to be able to do the groundbreaking things that they're supposed to be doing. So I really appreciate everyone, the viewers. I appreciate you, Mr. Self Care, and the communities around us. I'm proud to have this knowledge and to be able to share with you. As I said earlier, I'm full. My heart is full, and I'm glad that we are here. My mentors. It's a pleasure moving with the different people.
Okay.
Thank you. Probably just maybe for someone who would love to reach out,
Yep.
you can check me out on www.lifexafrica.com. Press that appointment booking button and let's have a conversation where let's have an assessment of your nutrition status. You should actually see a nutritionist at least once a year. If in case you do not have any health complications, at least once a year. But if you have health complications, ensure that you and your loved ones, if you have a patient in ICU, in whichever department, ensure that this patient has a nutritionist attached on the healthcare team. It's going to be easy for you to move out of the hospital earlier, to reduce the hospital bills, because with proper feeding comes proper healing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And to all our viewers, I believe we've had a wonderful session this time. Someone is worried, but I want to assure you every month we are going to have a session on nutrition for the rest of the year. And we are going to keep tackling different things. Again, I want to thank LifeX Africa for sponsoring today's program. I'm sorry I should have your ad running below, but I'm going to work with your director to make sure our producer has it in time. I want to extend my sincere regards to Man Cave. Thank you so much for raising men like me that are living to impact the society. My warmest and loveliest greetings go to the love of my life. That's my daughter, Atara Ainsley Chimboa. Thank you so much. Daddy loves you, and keep it feed well all the time, because you have to make daddy proud. To all the rest of the viewer, thank you, and have yourself a blessed Sunday. May God bless you. Bye. Oh.